नमस्कार। 10 अक्टूबर 2021 को यूपीएससी ने सिविल सर्विस प्री एग्जाम कंडक्ट कराया। हमारे स्टूडेंट्स और कुछ व्यूअर्स के रिक्वेस्ट में आज हम आपके सामने लाए हैं द कंप्लीट एनालिसिस ऑफ द पॉलिटी सेक्शन ऑफ जीएस पेपर 1। जहां तक पॉलिटी सेक्शन की बात करें तो एक्सेप्ट फॉर फ्यू क्वेश्चंस व्हिच वर बिट ट्रिकी, रेस्ट ऑल द क्वेश्चंस वर आइदर डायरेक्ट और इजी टू सॉल्व। इस वीडियो में आपको पॉलिटी सेक्शन की सबसे ऑथेंटिक आंसर कीज मिलेंगी along with detailed explanation. So stay tuned with us. Question number 1. Under the Indian Constitution, concentration of wealth violates, and there are 4 options which are given. एक एक करके इन चारों ऑप्शंस पे जाते हैं एंड देखते हैं कि कौन सा करेक्ट ऑप्शन है। So option number 1 says right to equality. Now, right to equality is from Article 14 to 18 of our Constitution. लेकिन right to equality में कहीं पर भी concentration of wealth से related कोई provision नहीं है. So, of course, option A is not correct. Option B is directive principles of state policy. Now, you see, directive principles of state policy in Indian Constitution, they are enshrined in Part 4 from Article 36 to 51. Basically, directive principles of state policy are a kind of directives or a kind of instructions which are being given by our constitution to the government. Now, इन्हीं directive principles of state policy में आता है Article 39 और Article 39 का है Clause C. Now, I am reading Article 39 Clause C. It states, the state shall in particular direct its policies towards securing that the operation of the economic system does not result in the concentration of wealth and means of production to the common detriment. So this means that Article 39 instructs the state to create a kind of policy and to secure that the economic system does not lead to concentration of wealth. This means अगर concentration of wealth हो रहा है तो वो डायरेक्टली वायलेट करेगा आर्टिकल 39C ऑफ आवर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन विच फॉल्स अंडर डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ स्टेट पॉलिसी. सो ऑप्शन बी अपीयर्स टू बी करेक्ट, लेकिन हम बाकी दोनों ऑप्शंस को भी देखते हैं. राइट टू फ्रीडम, ऑफ कोर्स दैट डज नॉट डील विथ कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ वेल्थ and concept of welfare. So concept of welfare is a very broad concept. तो precisely वो सिर्फ इसके लिए डील करे, that is not correct. So the correct option is option B, that is directive principles of state policy. Question number 2. What is the position of right to property in India? Now there are 4 options given and let me tell you ये question थोड़ा सा tricky है क्योंकि हर एक option को बहुत ही सावधानी से हमको समझकर correct option mark करना है. Now before we go to the correct option, थोड़ा सा right to property के बारे में जानते हैं. Since the Constitution of India came into force in 1950, right to property was made a fundamental right. Initially right to property हमारे संविधान में एक fundamental right था under Article 31 and 19(1)(f). लेकिन subsequently 44th constitutional amendment के बाद right to property under Article 31 got deleted and right to property को एक legal right घोषित कर दिया गया under Article 300A in part 12 of our constitution. अब article 300A क्या कहता है? It states that no person shall be deprived of his property save by the authority of law. यहाँ पर अगर हम एक important बात देखें तो यहाँ पर लिखा है no person shall be deprived. यहाँ पर no citizen नहीं लिखा है, यानी कि कोई भी person जो इंडिया में है उसको आप उसकी प्रॉपर्टी से डिप्राइव नहीं कर सकते हैं एक्सेप्ट बाय द अथॉरिटी ऑफ लॉ. अब चलते हैं ऑप्शंस की तरफ. ऑप्शन ए सेज लीगल राइट अवेलेबल टू सिटीजंस ओनली. नाउ दिस ऑप्शन इज नॉट करेक्ट बिकॉज ऑफ कोर्स दिस इज अ लीगल राइट. ये लीगल राइट है राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी, लेकिन ये सिर्फ सिटीजंस तक सीमित नहीं है. सो दिस ऑप्शन इज नॉट करेक्ट. सो दिस ऑप्शन इज ऑफ कोर्स नॉट करेक्ट. सेकेंड ऑप्शन, legal right available to any person. this option seems correct. लेकिन हमेशा मैं ये बताऊंगी कि सारे options को एक बार read जरूर किया करें. So let's come to the third option. This says fundamental right available to citizens only. Of course, हम बता चुके हैं right to property is no more a fundamental right. So this option of course is not correct. Last option says neither fundamental right nor legal right. ये option भी सही नहीं है क्योंकि right to property of course एक legal right है. Now coming back to the option B which says it is a legal right. Yes, it is a legal right available to any person. Of course, this is available to any person. So correct option is B, that is legal right available to any person. Question number 3. What was the exact constitutional status of India on 26th January 1950? Now this question again is a very straightforward question. लेकिन थोड़ा सा हम स्टूडेंट्स के लिए इसको इलैबोरेट बिल्कुल करेंगे. So you see, जब हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन it was enforced on 26 January 1950, उस समय इंडिया was sovereign, democratic and republic. Though terms that is socialist and secular was only added after 42nd Amendment Act 1976. तो 42nd Amendment Act 1976 के पहले India was just sovereign democratic republic. This was a constitutional status of India. अब एक एक करके options में चलते हैं. Option A says a democratic republic. No, this is not correct because we were sovereign democratic republic. Option B says sovereign democratic republic. This appears to be correct, but of course हम सभी options पे एक एक करके जरूर जाएंगे. Option C says sovereign secular democratic republic. No, as I told you, secular word was been included after 42nd Amendment. So this option again is not correct. Option D says sovereign socialist secular democratic republic. Again, the terms socialist and secular both were added after 42nd Amendment 1976. So again, this option is not correct. So correct option is B, sovereign democratic republic. Question number 4, constitutional government means. Now see, before we go into the options, let's understand what exactly is a constitutional government. Samvidhanik Sarkar. Now see, constitutional government is by definition a limited government. इसका मतलब होता है ऐसी सरकार जो संविधान या कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के प्रोविजंस के अकॉर्डिंग चले या काम करे. नाउ दिस टाइप ऑफ गवर्नमेंट कैन नेवर बी आर्बिट्ररी, राइट? वो निरंकुश कभी नहीं हो सकती है. इट इज ऑलवेज बीइंग लिमिटेड बाय प्रोविजंस ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. अब अगर हम एक एक ऑप्शंस पे चलते हैं तो द ऑप्शन विच सीम्स very near to this kind of government seems to be D, which says a government limited by the terms of the constitution. Rest all the options are not at all near to the concept of constitutional government. Therefore, the correct option is D, that is a government limited by the terms of the constitution. Now question number 5. With reference to India, consider the following statements. Now here two statements are given and these two statements are related with the concept of judicial custody. तो पहले समझ लेते हैं कि judicial custody है क्या. Now you see, judicial custody is very much different from the concept of police custody. Judicial custody का मतलब होता है court की custody. When a person is under the custody of the court, then he is considered to be under the judicial custody. Now unlike police custody, अगर कोई व्यक्ति जुडिशियल कस्टडी के अंदर है तो पुलिस ऑफिसर अगर उससे मिलना चाहता है या उसको इंटेरोगेट करना चाहता है तो प्रॉपर कोर्ट की परमिशन लेनी पड़ती है. ओके, सो नाउ कमिंग टू द टू स्टेटमेंट. स्टेटमेंट नंबर 1 सेज जुडिशियल कस्टडी मींस एन अक्यूज्ड इज इन कस्टडी ऑफ कंसर्न्ड मैजिस्ट्रेट. नाउ एज आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू, जुडिशियल कस्टडी में आप जुडिशरी यानी कोर्ट की कस्टडी के अंदर रहते हैं rather than magistrate. So this option of course is not correct. Second option says during judicial custody, the police officer in charge of the case is not allowed to interrogate the suspect without the approval of the court. This already I told you कि judicial custody के अंतर्गत पुलिस ऑफिसर को उस व्यक्ति से अगर मिलना है या इंटेरोगेट करना है तो कोर्ट का अप्रूवल, प्रायर अप्रूवल लेना बहुत जरूरी है. सो second statement is correct. As far as options are concerned, option B is correct, that is 2 only. Question number 6. With reference to India, consider the following statements. Now there are two statements which are given and both the statements are related with the concept of payroll. तो आइए समझते हैं कि payroll आखिर है क्या. Now see, payroll system generally means prisoners' temporary or at times even permanent release before the end of the sentence. यानी कि उनके पनिशमेंट की के सेंटेंस की अवधि खत्म होने के पहले प्रिजनर्स को अगर थोड़े समय के लिए या कभी कभी परमानेंट भी रिलीज कर दिया जाता है इन एक्सचेंज ऑफ गुड बिहेवियर, अगर उनका बिहेवियर अच्छा हो तो इसको हम पेरोल कहते हैं. अब ये बात बहुत जरूरी है समझना कि पेरोल इज ऑफ कोर्स नॉट द मैटर ऑफ राइट, इट इज एक्ट ऑफ ग्रेस, जो कि कोर्ट आपके गुड बिहेवियर के वजह से या एक्सचेंज में प्रिजनर्स को बाहर जाने की अनुमति देता है. सो ऑफ कोर्स इट इज नॉट अ मैटर ऑफ राइट. नाउ एक बात और भी बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है कि ये क्वेश्चन इज वेरी मच कॉन्टेक्चुअली इंपॉर्टेंट, क्योंकि कोविड पेंडेमिक आने के बाद इंस्टेंसेस of spreading of this virus within prison inmates also occurred. और उसके बाद 2020 में एक PIL भी दर्ज की गई जिसमें ये कहा गया कि क्या पेरोल का ये बेसिस हो सकता है कोविड पेंडेमिक के बढ़ते केसेस विद इन प्रिजन. और इसके ऊपर बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट के ऊपर भी एक हियरिंग हुई थी. तो आई बिलीव कि द कॉन्सेप्ट यूपीएससी ऑलवेज टेक थिंग्स व्हिच आर वेरी कॉन्टेक्चुअली रेलेवेंट, तो इस हिसाब से ये क्वेश्चन भी बहुत रेलेवेंट होता है. नाउ कमिंग बैक टू द टू स्टेटमेंट. नाउ द फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट सेज दैट व्हेन अ prisoner makes out a sufficient case, parole cannot be denied to such prisoner because it becomes a matter of his or her right. And I already told you, parole is an act of grace. It is of course not a matter of right. So this statement is not correct. As far as second statement is concerned, state government have their own prisoners release on payroll rules. Yes, हर राज्य सरकारों की अपनी खुद की प्रिजनर्स रिलीज होती हैं, गाइडलाइंस होती हैं जिसके अंतर्गत उनके पास प्रॉपर पेरोल रूल्स होते हैं. सो दिस स्टेटमेंट इज करेक्ट. Out of the options given, therefore option B is correct, that is 2 only. Question number 7. At the national level, which ministry is the nodal agency to ensure effective implementation of the Scheduled Tribes and other traditional forest dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006? Now this question is a very direct question, and of course this comes under the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Ministry of Tribal Affairs releases the monthly report on the implementation of the above act. So correct option is option D, that is Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Question number 8. A legislation which confers on the executive or administrative authority an unguided and uncontrolled discretionary power in the matter of the application of law violates which one of the following articles of the Constitution of India? Now, first of all, this question, the language is a bit complicated. Therefore, this question seems to be a bit tricky. Else, अगर ये language complicated नहीं है तो ना होती तो ये question would have been a very straightforward question. Now again to the question, हम समझते हैं आराम से धीरे धीरे. So this question says कि अगर ऐसा कोई legislation बनता है जो executive या administrative authority को uncontrolled discretionary power देता है, arbitrary power देता है, तो ऐसा legislation Indian Constitution के कौन से article को violate करेगा? Now you see, we all know that in India there is Article 14 of our Constitution. And in India, as I was telling you, there is supremacy of law, that is rule of law. It is being stated कि country का जो law है, the law of the land is supreme and no individual is over and above this law, right? And of course, there is a provision in order to ensure the rule of law, and that provision is Article 14. Article 14 of our constitution talks about equality before law and equal protection of law, right? Now coming back to the options. Option A talks about Article 14. This appears to be correct, लेकिन हम बाकी options पे भी एक एक करके जाएंगे. Article 28 deals with, we all know, right to religion के अंतर्गत है ये article, so of course this is not correct. Article 32 deals with right to constitutional remedies, writ jurisdiction के अंतर्गत आता है. This Article 32, of course, this is not at all related with the question. Article 44 deals with uniform civil code. Again, this is not related with the question. So the correct option is option A, that is Article 14, that is equality before law and equal protection of law. Question number 9. Which one of the following in Indian polity is an essential feature that indicates that it is federal in character? यानी इस क्वेश्चन में फेडरल सिस्टम के बारे में और खासकर इंडियन फेडरल सिस्टम के बारे में पूछा गया है. So now first of all let's look into what exactly federalism is all about in a very short and crisp way. देखें, there are actually 4 basic features of a federal polity. There are 4 basic features of federalism, and these 4 basic features, they are 4 basic. Apart from this, there are other features as well, but these are 4 basic features of federalism, and of course they hold true for Indian federal system as well. So what does federalism mean? Number 1, it means division of power between federal units. दो federal units, सेंटर या स्टेट हो अगर, तो उनके बीच में डिवीजन ऑफ पावर होना इज वन इंपॉर्टेंट कैरेक्टरिस्टिक ऑफ अ फेडरल पॉलिटी. सेकेंड इज रिटन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. एक लिखित संविधान होना बहुत जरूरी है जिसमें स्पेसिफिकली both the federal units, the powers of both the federal units are being written. एक ऐसा संविधान, लिखित संविधान होना जरूरी है जिसमें दोनों ही फेडरल यूनिट्स की क्या पावर हैं वो क्लियरली मेंशन्ड हो. थर्ड, सुप्रीमेसी ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. इस रिटन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को सुप्रीम होना भी बहुत जरूरी है सो दैट प्रोविजंस को वायलेशन ना हो पाए बाय आइदर ऑफ द फेडरल यूनिट. एंड द fourth important basic feature of a federal polity is independent and impartial judiciary. यानी कि अगर दो फेडरल यूनिट्स के बीच में किसी भी प्रकार का कोई कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होता है तो एक इंडिपेंडेंट और इम्पार्शियल जुडिशरी का होना बहुत जरूरी है जो कि उस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को रिजॉल्व करे. नाउ कमिंग बैक टू द ऑप्शंस वन बाय वन. ऑप्शन ए सेज द इंडिपेंडेंस ऑफ द जुडिशरी इज सेफगार्डेड. Now I already told you कि इंडियन पॉलिटी की बात करें या फेडरलिज्म की इन जनरल बात करें तो उसका एक बहुत एसेंशियल फीचर होता है इंडिपेंडेंट एंड इम्पार्शियल जुडिशरी. सो ऑप्शन ए सीम्स करेक्ट, लेकिन हम बाकी ऑप्शंस पे भी एक एक करके जरूर जाएंगे. ऑप्शन बी सेज द यूनियन लेजिस्लेचर हैज इलेक्टेड रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स फ्रॉम कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट यूनिट्स. दिस इज नॉट एट ऑल लिंक्ड विद फेडरल सेटअप. सी सेज द यूनियन कैबिनेट कैन हैव elected representatives from regional parties, not something which is related to federalism. D option says fundamental rights are enforceable by court of law. This again is not linked with the federal character of Indian polity. So the correct option is A, that is independence of judiciary is safeguarded. Question number 10. Which one of the following best defines the term state? Now there are 4 statements which are given. Again, this question appears to be a bit difficult, but it is not at all difficult. It is a very direct question. Just that इसमें sentences थोड़े lengthy हैं, तो पढ़ने में थोड़ा लग सकता है कि this question is difficult. So first of all, let's understand what exactly is state when we refer in terms of political science or when we refer in terms of polity. तो state क्या है? 1933 में there was a convention which was being signed that is called the Montevideo Convention. So according to Montevideo Convention of 1933, there are 4 essential features of state. 4 सबसे essential features होते हैं state के. वो 4 essential features क्या हैं? Population यानी जनसंख्या, territory यानी कि किस एरिया के अंदर आप रह रहे हैं, सॉवरेनिटी यानी संप्रभुता और गवर्नमेंट यानी सरकार। यानी कि अगर किसी एक अरेंजमेंट के अंतर्गत आपको ये चारों फीचर्स मिल रहे हैं तो यू कैन कॉल दैट अरेंजमेंट टू बी अ स्टेट। नाउ कमिंग बैक टू द ऑप्शंस वन बाय वन। ऑप्शन नंबर ए सेज a community of persons. So persons indicate here population permanently occupying a definite territory. Second important feature of a state is, of course, as I told you, territory. Independent of external control. Now, this is very important. Independent of external control. We all know that sovereignty, yani samprabhuta, kya hoti hai? Samprabhuta yani or sovereignty means that when a country is free both from external as well as internal matters. It is completely free as far as its external matters are concerned or its internal matters are concerned. यानी कि अगर एक कंट्री एक्सटर्नल कंट्रोल से पूरी तरह इंडिपेंडेंट है तो हम उसको सॉवरन कह सकते हैं. So this third important aspect also comes under this concept of sovereignty. And last is possessing an organized government. So this A statement includes all the four essential features of state: population, territory, sovereignty and government. Rest all the three options, if you read carefully, they do not contain all the four essential features of the state. So correct option in this regard is A. Question number 11. With reference to Indian judiciary, consider the following statement. Now there are two statements which are given. Statement number 1 says any retired judge of Supreme Court can be called back to sit by the Chief Justice of India with prior permission of President of India. Now you see there is in our constitution article 128 which gives Chief Justice of India the power to request any person who has been serving in Supreme Court as a judge. So he might be a retired judge. So under Article 128, the Chief Justice of India, with prior consent of the President, may request such person to come and act as judge of the Supreme Court. So the first statement appears correct within Article 128 of our Constitution. Now let's go to the second statement. Second statement says a High Court in India has a power to review its own judgment as the Supreme Court does. Now you see there is another article, Article 215. And this Article 215 of Indian Constitution, this gives High Court the power to review their own orders. And the reason is because High Court also act as courts of record. So therefore High Court can also review their own orders. So again this statement also appears to be correct. So as far as options are concerned, option 3 is correct, that is both 1 and 2. Question number 12. With reference to India, consider the following statement. Now, statement number 1 says, there is only one citizenship and one domicile. Now, actually we all know that in India, there is a provision of single citizenship. There is no such provision of dual citizenship. So, of course, this statement appears to be correct. Now, second statement. A citizen by birth only can become the head of the state. Now, this question, this statement is a bit tricky. First of all, head of the state means president, right? तो president के अगर हम qualification की बात करें तो in our constitution we have article 58. Now article 58 of our constitution says कि essentially there are three basic qualification for being a president अगर आपको qualify होना है तो. So number 1, you have to be a citizen of India. Now you have to be a citizen of India, लेकिन ये कहीं mentioned नहीं है कि citizenship आपने कैसे ली है. Have you are you a born citizen of India or you have acquired the citizenship through the process of naturalization या registration? तो ये कुछ भी specific नहीं है. That's the only thing which is specified is कि आपको भारत का नागरिक होना है. The second important qualification is the minimum age of 35, and third that you have to be qualified to be a member of Lok Sabha. अब इस क्वेश्चन के रिस्पेक्ट में दिस पॉइंट appears very important. Now going back to the statement, a citizen by birth only can become the head of the state, they are saying. Now citizen by birth only, this is not correct, because as I told you, you have to be a citizen of India, lekin citizen by birth only is the only qualification that has not been mentioned. So this statement does not appears to be correct. Third statement, a foreigner once granted the citizenship cannot be deprived of it under any circumstances. Now you see, India में foreigners को भी citizenship मिल सकती है, as I told you, through naturalization या registration. इन दोनों processes के through a foreigner can also be provided citizenship. But it is not true that once you are being granted the citizenship, it cannot be deprived. If you have acquired citizenship through some fraud means, or there are some other reason, of course that citizenship can be taken away. So again, this statement also does not appears correct. So the correct statement is option A, that is one only. Now you see, as I always tell the students that UPSC never asks questions which are not contextually relevant. जनरली क्वेश्चंस ऐसे आते हैं जिनका कुछ ना कुछ रेलेवेंस हाल फिलहाल में होता है, एंड ऑफ कोर्स सिटीजनशिप के ऊपर हम एक क्वेश्चन जरूर एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे थे, कीपिंग इनटू माइंड द एंटायर एनआरसी एंड सीए कंट्रोवर्सी. इस वजह से दिस क्वेश्चन इज वेरी कॉन्टेक्चुअली रेलेवेंट एंड वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग ऑल्सो, क्योंकि थोड़ी सी लैंग्वेज इसकी ट्रिकी थी. नाउ क्वेश्चन नंबर 13. Which of the following factors constitutes the best safeguard of liberty in a liberal democracy? Now there are four options given. Let me tell you, this question is a bit tricky. ये थोड़ा सोचने का क्वेश्चन है, एंड किसी को भी जिसको थोड़ा सा आइडिया हो अबाउट व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज अ लिबरल डेमोक्रेसी एंड हाउ वी कैन बेस्ट इंश्योर लिबर्टी, that person would be able to solve this question in a very easy way. However, थोड़ा सा ये tricky है. So now let's come to the options one by one. You know, the first option is a committed judiciary. सबसे पहले समझते हैं committed judiciary है क्या. देखिए, committed judiciary refers to the judiciary which is committed to uphold the policies of the government in power or try to interpret the laws in the constitution in a way which are acceptable to the government. यानी committed judiciary जैसे भारत में कहा जाता था इंदिरा गांधी के टाइम पर, तो कमिटेड जुडिशरी एक ऐसी जुडिशरी होती है जो गवर्नमेंट इन पावर को अपहोल्ड करने के लिए लॉज को या कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को ऐसे इंटरप्रेट करते हैं जो सरकार के फायदे में रहें, राइट. हावेवर इन अ लिबरल डेमोक्रेसी, अगर एक लोकतंत्र में आप हैं तो जुडिशरी हैज टू बी इंडिपेंडेंट. एक इंडिपेंडेंट और इम्पार्शियल जुडिशरी ही लोकतंत्र में लिबर्टी यानी स्वतंत्रता को इंश्योर कर सकती है. So of course the first option is not at all correct. The second option is centralization of power. Definitely not. अगर पावर का सेंट्रलाइजेशन होगा तो लिबर्टी सिक्योर नहीं हो सकती है, एंड ऑफ कोर्स सेंट्रलाइजेशन ऑफ पावर इज एंटीथेटिकल टू द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ लिबर्टी और लिबरल डेमोक्रेसी. सो सेकंड ऑप्शन ऑफ कोर्स इज नॉट करेक्ट. थर्ड ऑप्शन इलेक्टेड गवर्नमेंट. देखिए, इट्स नॉट नेसेसरी कि एक इलेक्टेड गवर्नमेंट हो तो आपकी लिबरल डेमोक्रेसी के विद इन लिबर्टी का सेफगार्ड हो. It is not necessarily correct. So the third last option appears to be the best option among all, that is separation of power. Separation of power का concept was given by Montesquieu. We all know in his book The Spirits of the Law. And separation of power में तीन organs of the states हैं and they are being separated, and of course there is a check and balance. तो माना जा सकता है कि इस क्वेश्चन के अंतर्गत द बेस्ट पॉसिबल आंसर कुड बी सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर, दैट इज ऑप्शन डी. क्वेश्चन नंबर 14. We adopted parliamentary democracy based on the British model, but how does our model differ from that model? Now there are two options, two statements which are given, so we'll go one by one with both the statements. Number one, as regard legislation, the British Parliament is supreme or sovereign, but in India, the power of Parliament to legislate is limited. Now, you see, this is of course true. As far as British Parliament is concerned, there is parliamentary supremacy. Britain में Parliament supreme है. अगर मैं बात करूं यूएसए की, तो यूएसए में जुडिशियल, देयर इज सुप्रीमेसी ऑफ जुडिशरी. India, the Indian policymakers have very, in a very prudent way, they have tried to take a middle path. So in India, we have the rule of law. Constitution is supreme, right? And of course, there is a concept of judicial review, which ensures कि अगर पार्लियामेंट कोई ऐसा लॉ बनाता है जो सिटीजन्स के फंडामेंटल राइट को अब्रिज करते हैं, तो दैट लॉज वुड बी डिक्लेयर्ड null and void. So this statement appears to be correct because in Britain the parliament is supreme, but in India the power of the parliament to legislate is limited. It is of course limited, so this statement appears correct. Second statement is, in India, matters related to the constitutionality of the amendment of an act of a parliament are referred to the constitution bench by the Supreme Court. अब इसके पहले कि ये statement correct है या नहीं, इसके ऊपर जाएं, I need to tell you one thing that here the language, this language of this statement is little bit tricky, और इसलिए थोड़ा सा confusion students को इस statement को लेके हो सकता है. आइए समझते हैं सबसे पहले कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बेंच क्या होती है. देखिए, नॉर्मली सुप्रीम कोर्ट में अगर हियरिंग होती है, इट इज जनरली बीन हर्ड बाय अ डिवीजन बेंच. इस डिवीजन बेंच में 2 या 3 जजेस रहते हैं, बट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बेंच इज एन एक्सेप्शन टू द डिवीजन बेंच. So constitution bench involves at least 5 or more judges of the court. ठीक है, and basically it is being constituted to decide certain substantial questions of law regarding the interpretation of the constitution. तो अगर बहुत ही crucial कोई ऐसे interpretation हमें चाहिए regarding constitution या important substantial questions of law, तब एक constitution bench को बनाया जाता है जिसमें at least 5 या उससे ज्यादा judges हो सकते हैं, right? अब इंडिया एकमात्र ऐसी कंट्री है, right? I'm again repeating, India is the only country where constitutionality of the amendment of an act of a parliament can be referred to the constitution bench by the Supreme Court. So India is in this case is quite an exception, and therefore this second statement also appears to be correct, that in India matters relating to the constitutionality of the amendment of an act are referred to the constitution bench. So according to my view, both the statement are correct. So option C appears to be the correct option, both 1 and 2. Question number 15. With reference to the union government, consider the following statement. So there are 2 statements which are given. One by one we'll go. Statement 1 says, N. Gopalaswamy Iyer committee suggested that a minister and a secretary be designated solely for pursuing the subject of administrative reform and promoting it. Now you see, this was not suggested by this committee, rather it was being suggested by the first ARC. So this statement is not correct. Let me tell you, this question is very bookish. ये question बहुत जिन्होंने बुक अच्छे से पढ़ी हो, टेक्स्ट अच्छे से देखा हो, थोड़ा फैक्चुअल है this question, right? Now the second statement is, in 1700 and in 1970, sorry, the Department of Personnel was constituted on the recommendation of ARC 1966, and this was placed under the Prime Minister's charge. Now you see, this is correct कि 1970 में Department of Personnel was constituted. But this is not correct that it was placed under Prime Minister charge. No, this is not correct. Rather, it was being set up under the Cabinet Secretariat. So in this case, both the 2 statements are not correct. So correct option is D, that is neither 1 nor 2. Question number 16. Right to privacy is protected under which article of the Constitution of India? Now see, this question is very contextually relevant. Because if you remember, recently in August 2021, an actor has filed a case in Delhi High Court pleading to remove the videos that were being uploaded on online platform without her consent. और जब उन्होंने ये केस फाइल किया तो कोर्ट ने ऑब्जर्व किया कि राइट टू प्राइवेसी स्पेशली फॉर अ वुमेन नीड्स टू बी प्रोटेक्टेड, राइट? सो इन दिस रिगार्ड देयरफॉर राइट टू प्राइवेसी के ऊपर ये जो क्वेश्चन आया है ये बहुत ही ज्यादा रेलेवेंट है. तो चलिए समझते हैं राइट टू प्राइवेसी है क्या इन अ वेरी शॉर्ट इन अ क्रिस्प मैनर. You see, in Puttaswamy versus Union of India case 2017, right to privacy was declared a fundamental right by the Constitution. Okay, and at the same time it was also being considered कि ये right to privacy article 21 का, that is right to life and personal liberty का एक intrinsic part है. Okay, now coming to the options, right to privacy is protected under, as I've already told you, this is protected under article 21 of our constitution. Therefore correct option is C. Question number 17, and this is the last question. Consider the following statements. There are three statements which are given. Statement number 1 says, in India there is no law restricting the candidates from contesting in one Lok Sabha election from 3 constituencies. Now let me tell you one thing, that in 1996 an amendment was made to Representation of People's Act, and according to this amendment the number of seats one candidate could contest in an election was restricted to 2. यानी कि रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ पीपल्स एक्ट में 1996 में अमेंडमेंट आया और इस अमेंडमेंट के अंतर्गत ये कहा गया कि अ कैंडिडेट कैन कंटेस्ट फ्रॉम एट द मैक्सिमम 2 सीट्स, राइट. तो पहला स्टेटमेंट डजंट अपीयर्स टू बी करेक्ट बिकॉज इट इज सेइंग दैट देयर इज नो law restricting the candidate. No, this is not correct. We of course have a law restricting the candidate to only 2 constituencies. The second statement says, in 1991 Lok Sabha election, Shri Devilal contested from 3 Lok Sabha constituencies. This statement is factually correct. This thing happened prior to 1996, क्योंकि 1996 के बाद अमेंडमेंट आने के बाद अब कैंडिडेट एट द मैक्सिमम 2 कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी से इलेक्शन कंटेस्ट कर सकते हैं. The third statement is, as per the existing rules, if a candidate contests in one Lok Sabha election from many constituencies, his or her party should bear the cost of by-elections to the constituencies vacated by him or her in event of him or her winning in all the constituencies. Actually, there is no such rules which have been incorporated, right? At present, there are no such rules. In fact, this is one of the key demands as far as electoral reforms are concerned कि ऐसा होना चाहिए, लेकिन ऐसा है नहीं. So as per the options given, I think option B is correct, that is 2 only. So that's all for now as far as the detailed explanation for polity section on paper 1 is concerned. We will be very soon coming up with a detailed explanation regarding other sections in this paper as well. So till then, keep studying, stay tuned with our channel, stay connected, and all the very best for mains examination.
Thanks for watching our video.
If you want us to keep making such informative videos, please like, share and subscribe our channel.
Aradhya, the gateway of knowledge.
Till then, goodbye, take care and stay safe.